Taking photos on our phones is easier than ever before, with amazingly crisp pictures. We expect these photos to be instantly viewable. This is, after all, the 21st century. But back in the 20th century, instant photography was unheard of until a scientist by the name of Dr. Land came up with a magical method to instantly see photos. Polaroid is now almost synonymous with instant photography, and the invention meant that instead of having to wait a week for your photo to develop, it took just a moment. But despite being the catalyst for monumental change in photography, Polaroid has been another successful business plagued by modernity. Here's how it happened. Dr. Edwin Land started Polaroid in Massachusetts in 1937 in response to a question from his 3-year-old daughter who asked, "Why can't I see the picture now?" Often described in the same sentence as Steve Jobs, Land was a dreamer, thinker, and a specialist at hiring strong teams to solve problems and revolutionize markets. After trying his hand at Polaroid sunglasses, Land's revolutionary object came through the Polaroid polarizer, a plastic sheet developed during World War II whose chemicals created an instant photo, although it was originally designed for the military's infrared technology. In simplistic terms, using film with a negative side and a positive receiving side, the chemical reaction of iodoquinone sulfate crystals embedded themselves on the transparent plastic to reveal an image. With the chemistry sorted, the first design was made and the camera went on sale in 1948, with Land underestimating demand, with all 57 units selling out instantly. Following this, Polaroid continued to perfect their cameras, releasing new models and inventing instant color photography, which was a 20-year overnight success, with Polar Color Pack film being worked on since the 1940s. This saw the release of the Land 100 camera series, which retailed at $165 in 1963, a seemingly reasonable price, until you adjust for inflation and realize it's almost $1,500. As the technology became more advanced, so did the printing, with integral film technology meaning no further peeling was required on the photos, with the SX70 camera debuting this new technology. Part of Polaroid's success came with their marketing campaign, targeting renowned artists like Ansel Adams, Andy Warhol, and David Hockney to test the products, providing them with free film and studio space to take photos in exchange for their best work. Ansel Adams in particular was a consultant and ambassador for the business, testing cameras, providing insights and new ideas for future models. And collectively these photos formed the International Polaroid Collection, which grew from the 60s to the 80s, not only drumming up interest from the general public in the cameras, but also creating a magical collection of photographs, which was later displayed as the Polaroid Project in 2018 in a museum in Hamburg, Germany. By the early 90s, Polaroid had sold in excess of £2 billion worth of film and cameras. And the story so far smacks of positivity, success, and profit, but problems started to arise in the mid to late 70s. In 1976, Polaroid became embroiled in a lawsuit with Kodak for stealing the Polaroid instant photography process. Despite winning the lawsuit, they only received just over $900 million from the $12 billion they asked for. But camera sales doubled in the next 2 years anyway. Despite the founder's ingenuity, Edwin Land being a perfectionist and purist meant that it took an age for new products to be launched, and when they did, they were outdated or moving in the wrong direction, like introducing PolarVision in 1977, an instant color home movie system, just as videotapes were taking off. Land was coerced into resigning in 1981 and passed away 10 years later, but without him, Polaroid lacked direction and failed to adapt to the growing digital photography market. Instead, they tried to sell instant photography to developing nations, and by 2001, they declared bankruptcy. As the company was picked over by vultures, the last camera was produced in 2006. Petitions were signed by fans to keep the factories open as they tried to encourage other companies to continue making the film. Fujifilm obliged for around 10 years, but even they stopped because of declining sales. You might think this would be the end, as it would be for most other companies, but like a phoenix, Polaroid rose from the ashes. When the factories closed in 2008, 2 fans, Florian Kaps and Andre Bosman, attended the site. In collaboration with Marwan Sabbah, Kaps and Bosman founded the Impossible Project, using crowdfunding to launch their own Polaroid camera. They used the funds to buy Polaroid equipment at auction and set up the business in some of the original factories. By May 2017, Impossible Project acquired the Polaroid brand and IP and rebranded to Polaroid Originals and latterly just Polaroid. As indie photography and retro style came back in fashion, you'll likely have seen Polaroid cameras back on shelves over the last few years. and with Polaroid now, the company has a future at least. For those who used Polaroids back in the day, the name creates a sense of nostalgia, and for those who are too young to remember, when everything's digital, there's a certain novelty to holding a physical photo in your hand. Thanks for watching.